Crow killer. A beautiful girl once confessed she killed a crow. They mate for life, she said. Now one follows me wherever I go. Even now, look, it caws from the birch, doubles its shadow on shadows. And each time I turn, you watch. It knows its chance and flops closer, sometimes claws at the grass just beyond my reach, and stares and flaps its charred wings like a scarecrow poised on its own movable field. The flaw it scopes, pinched in me like a crippled cause, plants me at its center, its in-stressed enemy. Bad guessed like a sickness, like a murderer. It's really nice to be down here, to have the occasion to come to Ottawa and read from my book. This is the first opportunity I've had to read from the book since it's come out last week, so I'm pleased to do so. I wish I had more to say about these poems, but I don't. For me, a poem is something that should provoke, or which I like to provoke less words rather than more. This next one is called Wolf Hunter. I was trying my hand at some dramatic monologues a few years ago, and I came across some old NFB documentaries on the NFB website, and there's plenty of things about animals and hunting and wolves and things, and this poem may have come from there, from perspective of one of those hunters. So there you are, little wolf, sole king of the Arctic. You'll howl to the moon and be the beast of picture books, frighten my children, eat poor farmers' chickens and cats, won't you? Isn't that what you were made for? To show your teeth, bristle and growl and run away? Now, here, for us, you'll be showcased. Look. Fast as you can, you sprint across the plateau, scurry your best getaway routine. What part chance in a million you've got, wolf, I guess the odds are stacked against. But what do you know of odds and being the prize of a 2-year waitlist to this one ride north? It's what I've paid for. I'm almost disappointed. You're slower than I expected. All that effort to beat the speed of this measly twin propeller, pretty much for nothing. It's like you treadmill the same piece of earth over and over. Enough. What are you, wolf? Where are you going? Hush. I'm told now to take a shot. Fuel runs low and we gotta be back before dark. So, little wolf, you might as well hold your full throttle pace across the scree, easier to aim. There's a rivet here on the window ledge to gully the gun barrel. Set its scope on your barn-wide belly. X mark your shaking heart. You're almost dead before I start, but there's a moment you linger a little more alive. Time like a room we enter together, a second or so before I pull the trigger. So there are animal poems. This one's from a sequence at the beginning of the book, which I wrote thinking of the Polish poet, whose name I tend to mispronounce, Szela Miłosz. I think poems are something about influence of when you read somebody and really considers another writer, dead or alive, closely, you sometimes feel like they're in the room with you, really, and that you could ask them things, perhaps, that more than you think. So these poems are letters of sorts to him. This one's less of a letter, but anyway. Horses. Before this game of pretend turns to nightmare, let me at least remember a few things about horses. the fields and horses, sagebrush and the bony-legged horses, the night sky and sloppy black moans of horses, sudden summer storms tremor through horses, hay stink and shit in the rafters above the stalls of horses, the dogs kicked by the hoofs of horses, barbed wire wrapped around wooden posts to stay the horses, the long brown hair of the girl and the long brown manes of the horses she rides and whispers her soft sounds to. Beautiful horses, and they're just born baby horses. Let me at least remember these few things about horses before this game of pretend turns to nightmare. I was reading the poems of Sue Sinclair, a Canadian poet who's wonderful, and I love Sue Sinclair's poems. I thought, there's a poem, such feeling, and I thought I would try to write with some feeling, whether I do it or not, but this is called A Crowded Theater. There was a time I thought I was all alone and free. I never imagined growing older and weaker. I imagined being famous and humble. Now it is as if I'm sitting in a crowded theater, in a ratty red chair too tiny for my legs, its armrests too narrow to share. Even when I look behind me, people are pushed around the other way. I've come this far, reached out and clung to your damp hand, and we hold each other here, though the building has begun to shake, and the show is not the one we asked for. This will be my first attempt to read the title poem, Wedding in Fire Country. I got married a few years ago, and I won't talk about the marriage except to say that it was in the Okanagan, and there was 3 fires that started the night that our plane landed. The first, we walked down to the beach, and my dad said there's a fire that started near the highway. And we could see down the highway that fire. And I thought, we got to go down that highway to get to the town where we need to go to get married. And there was fire. The fire got past the highway, and there was no going that way. So when I picked up some friends of mine from the airport that night, I said, there's a fire, so we're a little bit concerned. And they said, is that the fire? And I looked out, it was nighttime, there's a fire. And I said, no, that's not the fire. And they said, but that's a fire. And I said, yeah, I don't know about that fire, but it's happening too. By the morning, there was a 3rd fire somewhere else, and we thought we'd better get out of Kelowna. So we were told there was a back route, and we took that. Eventually made it to our wedding, where the fires continued in the Okanagan Valley, and I couldn't believe what was happening, really. I could hardly breathe. So, wedding in fire country. We pretend the water bombers are buffalo, bellying the lake, which they slurp sloppily. Sloppily we suck at our beers and cut into my father's steaks. The fires in the mountains are at first far enough away, we don't notice them. The smoke they issue is barely distinguishable from the white clouds, except by the way smoke gathers instead of dissipates, as clouds will do after storms. I am here, and you are comfortably beside me. We've flown to our wedding, and everyone is coming. But the fire left the highway last night when we slept, so this morning we drive to our ceremony by a longer route. What a drive. No fires. Some cattle and a laundry place that sells ice cream, of which we heatedly partake. The switchback back into the valley is cut down a steep slope above which the trees turn deciduous and the weather patterns differ, being mainly more turbulent and subject to rainstorms and thunder. Here, below, we find the air dry, as the patterns in summer incline to sun and fire. It is summer. We are here. Our families have gathered, plus friends. I wake early and open the curtains to rosy mountains. Smoke chugs into more of itself, darkly enough to scare my little cousin who wonders about our safety. Her fear and joy are not at all wily. It's okay, I say. It's no problem. But I sense she demands of herself that she accept what I tell her and reject what she feels. Look, it's raining. This is a fine thing, considering the fires. Under this umbrella you are huddled in your white fine dress, and our friends are throwing wet confetti, and see, there is my father and your father joyous with one another. The father of the hills is the sky, they say. The father of the water is the river. The father of the buffalo is the earth, which is the son of the hills plus beard lichen. The grandfather of the buffalo is therefore the sky. Therefore the buffalo have a desire for the sky, as like to almost like, hankering for communion, desires solely to know its own difference from itself. I am the son of my father, and you are the daughter of another. There is a difference between us that is distinct from the troubles of mountains and deer. Now here I am talking about deer. We are distinct from the deer, who are the siblings of the slender trees that are courted by the wind, and when so courted, do not totally resist its ravishments. The wind is close and kind to the breath of the sky, which is all the extension, but not the progeny, of anything other than itself. For the wind is the fury and the author of the way your hair flirts by not staying in one place, but flits above your eyebrows and ears. I wish at this time to be the quarter of your hair and the comforter of your whorled ears. For tonight we sojourned close in that place where the fire's herd freely roams. How long have I been reading? A little bit. So there's poems for friends and my wife. And I'll read a poem to a friend. No hurry. This poem for my friend Ian. He never has anything. No hurry. You piled in the center of your kitchen most of the junk from 10 years that hadn't been taken for debts. What you owned, though, was negligible. Lit mags cropped from the office stacks, movie posters, bent-up novels, a few poetry books, CDs from the ancient age of CDs. Only the pictures, you said, were you keeping, and of them, too, I could take my pick if any caught my eye. Oh, and the garbage bags full of clothes that didn't fit anymore. I didn't need or want anything. The pile itself is what stays with me, like a grainy scene of a film on pause. It's that pile I see you preparing for a bonfire, the kindling of your life stacked together on the kitchen floor. From where I stand, this will be no slow burn, but the quick extinguishment of 10 years, 3 girlfriends, 2 degrees. It's hard to know the thing we mean when we exit in a hurry, either too soon or too late with no awards or ring. But it's a kind of ripeness, rightly timed, that departure brings, and what we hunt that full part of a pint drunk past closing. A sign that reads, go bereft and go now, and now. This is just a start. And I'll end with another poem written with my wife in mind, called Away. Some mornings I sit at L'Anecdote, it's a cafe, and drink as much coffee as I can. As much as the waitress will pour me, which always depends on the waitress. Maybe I fall in love that easily, but more often I forget about it by the time I've paid. It's 4 years later, and this blonde, curled infant girl speaks French better than I do. During a winter, I watched her mother's belly round with her being made. Her father, the pilot, came and went. Each time I wondered about the great distances he risked when he left. The open ocean, the icy peninsula of Greenland. One day you'll also not be here, not doing things like sitting on the couch with a magazine. One day we'll walk all by ourselves. It'll be weird. I'll be looking for you forever if it comes to that. But now everything's okay. People wait for the traffic light to change. Winter again, we're warm enough. The world is safe here. Civilization works, at least it works here. People get old only after a long time. And listen to this one. No one dies young. Thanks for your attention tonight.